Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going deep into DNA.
Ooh, DNA.
But not just like your typical, biology class kind of a thing. We're really going to be looking at this from a different perspective.
Yeah.
We've got some really interesting sources that are looking at DNA from a scientific perspective, but then also a technological perspective.
Interesting.
And so we're going to try to kind of unravel this mystery of DNA as an information system and kind of go beyond, that typical double helix image that we're all used to.
Right.
And really think about this more in terms of like computer code and software.
Okay.
So if DNA is like software, where'd the programming come from?
That's a great question.
That's what we're going to try to figure out. So Bill Gates himself once tweeted that
Bill Gates?
DNA is like a software program, only much more complex than any we've ever created.
Wow. That's
pretty profound.
That's a big statement.
Coming from the guy
Yeah.
who, revolutionized computer software.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, you think about just how much information DNA can hold. Like, scientists have calculated that a single gram of DNA could theoretically store something like 200 million gigabytes of data.
what?
That's just crazy to think about.
It's wild. So it's not just the amount of information, it's the type of information, right? It's not just like data storage.
It's not just a hard drive.
Right. Like you need something to read that.
Yeah, you need a program. You need something to make sense of all those ones and zeros.
Exactly.
DNA has functional information. It's a specific language.
Yeah. It's a code that directs the creation of proteins.
The building blocks of life.
So it's more like, it's not just storing data, it's actively running a program.
Exactly. It's telling those cells how to build and operate an entire organism.
That's incredible.
Isn't that amazing? And you think about like Shannon information theory, which deals with like quantifying information.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Measuring it. But with DNA, it goes beyond just, measuring information.
So Shannon information theory is like, how much data can you transmit?
Yeah, exactly. It's about like reducing uncertainty. Think about like the weather in Seattle.
Okay. Yeah.
It's always raining. But if I told you it was raining in Seattle, you'd be like, well, yeah, I knew that already.
Right.
But if I told you that the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, that's...
Oh, now we're talking.
That's reducing uncertainty. That's information.
Right.
But DNA, it's not just about transmitting data.
Okay.
It's about carrying specific instructions to build and maintain life.
Like a random string of letters.
Yes.
Versus a Shakespearean sonnet.
Exactly. Both contain information, but only one has meaning and purpose.
Right, and like a specific effect.
Exactly. Francis Crick, who co-discovered the structure of DNA, he put it this way. He said, by information, I mean the specification of the amino acid sequence in the protein. He recognized that it's the specific arrangement of the DNA code that truly matters.
It's like DNA is speaking a language.
It is.
That we're only beginning to understand.
A language of life.
And if that's the case, then it raises some pretty profound questions about where this language, this code of life, came from.
Yeah, like how did it arise?
Okay.
Is random mutation and natural selection enough? Or does it point to something more?
So if DNA is like a sophisticated software program, even more complex than anything we've ever created, where did those instructions, that programming come from?
Exactly.
It challenges our understanding of life itself.
It really does.
And it might even change our entire worldview.
It could change everything.
Okay, so we've been talking about this DNA as like this incredibly advanced language, this code that holds the blueprint for life. But how does this language actually work?
Well, that's where we get into this like really amazing realm of molecular biology.
Okay.
You remember those 4 letters we were talking about, A, T, C, and G?
Yeah, like the nucleotides or whatever.
Yeah, the nucleotide bases.
Right.
That make up the DNA molecule. Think of them like the alphabet of the DNA language.
Okay, so we got our alphabet. But how do these letters form words and sentences?
Right, so these letters are arranged in very specific sequences along the DNA strand. And those sequences we call genes.
Okay,
and genes are like the words of the DNA language.
Okay, so if genes are the words, what are the sentences?
Well, think of the whole DNA molecule like a book. The book of life.
Okay.
The chromosomes, which are tightly coiled strands of DNA, those are like the chapters.
Okay.
And within each chapter, you have those genes. You know those words that tell the story?
Right. Of life?
The entire sequence from beginning to end is like the complete message, the instruction manual for building and operating an organism.
That's pretty cool.
It's really amazing when you think about it.
So like the DNA molecule, it's basically like this massive library that contains all the information needed to create and sustain life.
It really is. And what blows my mind is that this library is constantly being accessed and copied and translated within every cell of your body.
Oh, wow.
It's a dynamic process that keeps you alive and functioning.
So how does the cell actually read and interpret this DNA language?
Well, it's a multi-step process.
Okay.
It involves a lot of molecular machinery, but basically, a gene is transcribed into a molecule called messenger RNA, or mRNA.
Okay.
This mRNA acts like a courier, carrying those genetic instructions from the DNA in the nucleus out to the ribosomes, which are like the protein factories of the cell.
So the mRNA is like the messenger delivering the blueprints from the architect's office to the construction site.
A perfect analogy. And once that mRNA reaches those ribosomes, that's where the real magic happens.
Okay.
The ribosomes, they read that mRNA sequence and use that as a template to assemble amino acids into a specific protein.
Okay.
It's kind of like following a recipe to bake a cake, except in this case, the recipe is written in the language of DNA, and the cake is a protein molecule.
This is where I always get a little lost.
Yeah.
How does a sequence of letters translate into building something as complex as a protein?
Well, it's all about the genetic code. Every 3-letter sequence in the mRNA, called a codon, corresponds to a specific amino acid. The ribosomes read those codons one after another. Add the corresponding amino acids to a growing chain, ultimately forming a complete protein.
So the ribosomes are like master builders, meticulously following the instructions.
Yes, encoded in the DNA to construct the protein molecules that make life possible.
It's wild.
It's a symphony of molecular interactions.
Yeah, and this is happening right now in every cell in our bodies.
It is, without us even having to think about it.
That's incredible.
It's a testament to the power and elegance of that DNA code.
Okay, so we've gone from DNA as a language to DNA as a library to DNA as a construction blueprint. It's clear that this molecule is more than just a chemical structure.
It's not just a molecule. It's a very complex information system, orchestrating the symphony of life.
It really makes you question its origins.
It does.
Like, how did this incredibly intricate language, this code that makes life possible, how did it come to be?
Yeah. That is the million-dollar question. And it has some really far-reaching implications for how we understand ourselves and our place in the universe.
It does, because if we view DNA as an information system, it's kind of hard to escape that implication. That information requires an intelligent source.
That's right. Just like a book requires an author.
Yeah.
A software program requires a programmer. That information encoded in DNA seems to point to an intelligent mind behind it.
So we're looking at the most intricate software ever created and asking who wrote the code.
Exactly. And this line of reasoning has led many scientists, particularly those who study intelligent design, to propose that the origin of life and the complexity of DNA point to something more than just random chance.
So you're saying that there's maybe an intelligent designer behind it.
It's a possibility that we can't ignore.
DNA code.
You know, a cosmic programmer who wrote the software of life.
Yeah.
Of course, this challenges that traditional materialistic worldview.
Yep.
You know, which says that everything can be explained by physical processes and random chance. But as we go deeper into these mysteries of DNA, we have to be open to exploring all possibilities.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And maybe a little unsettling to think about who is this designer?
Right.
What is their purpose?
What does it mean for us?
Yeah.
And our understanding of our own existence.
Right.
Those are some really profound questions, ones that have been pondered by philosophers and theologians for centuries. Science can tell us a lot about how, but it's really up to each of us to grapple with why.
I feel like we've stumbled onto something much bigger.
I think we have.
Than just a deep dive into DNA. We've opened a portal to a whole new dimension of understanding.
It's true. The study of DNA, the study of information, inevitably leads us to confront the biggest questions about existence, about the universe, about our place within it all.
That's what makes this so fascinating.
It really is.
We started with a simple molecule and ended up exploring the profound mysteries of life itself.
It's really a testament to the interconnectedness of knowledge. It shows us that there's always more to learn, more to explore, more to wonder about.
Definitely more to wonder about. I'm feeling like I need to go back and revisit everything I thought I knew about. DNA and biology, this is like a game changer.